Hello and welcome to our webinar today. My name is Ryan Thacker, along with my brother Tyson. We are the Retirement Brothers from B.O.S.S Retirement Solutions, and we'd like to just welcome you and thanks so much for joining us, right, Tyson?
That's right. We're so excited you're with us. Today we're going to be talking about how to avoid the 3 critical mistakes when claiming your Social Security. We talk a lot about this, but the reality is everybody needs to understand how this is going to work for them. And so right out of the gates, we need to disclaim just a little bit. First off, we don't get paid by the Social Security Administration for anything we're doing here. If you need to talk to anyone about your taxes, about anything to do with estate planning, go to your attorney, go to your CPA. We'd be happy though. This is all about education, Ryan, that we want to share with you today how this Social Security, these 3 particular things, are going to make a huge difference over your retirement life.
You know, and we'd like to thank for all of you for joining us. We have hundreds of families joining us here on the webinar today. And for those of you who are new to the B.O.S.S Retirement Solutions family, you may have heard us on or seen us on any of these media outlets here that you see on the screen. We grew up right here in Cottonwood Heights. Salt Lake City is our home. We're raising our families here. And we have a weekly radio show on KSL and also on 105.9 KNRS radio, as well as our TV show. Tyson, we've got some new times here. It's on Tuesdays and Thursdays as part of the 6:30 news. And Tyson, where can people find us?
Well, the great thing about what we did when we started B.O.S.S Retirement Solutions is we wanted to ensure that you were within 20 minutes, whether it's from home or work, of any of our locations. So all the way up to Ogden, down to Provo, we have offices everywhere in between to make it easy for you to come on in, to get your own customized analysis, to make sure you're doing what's best for you and your family.
You know, also we recognize that many of you are busy. You have busy lives, busy schedules, just like all of us. And so one of the things that we're going to be offering today, if you don't have time to be on for the entire webinar, is we are offering a free customized Social Security analysis. If you've saved at least $200,000 for retirement, we'd invite you to be one of the first 20 people right now to respond to the webinar. You can get this Social Security analysis, and we will talk in a little bit more detail what this is, how it works. We'll run some case studies. We'll have a lot of fun with this. But Tyson, where can people go if they want to request that right now?
So you can either email us at retire@bossretirement.com, or you can simply click on that form and fill out your own information. We'll have somebody reach out to you to set up a time to get together with us, to be able to have the opportunity to have a one-on-one consultation to help you get the information, to help you get to and through retirement. You know, Ryan, one of the things that we talk about all the time is if we can give good information to good people, they can make great decisions, and that's what today's webinar is all about. So, Ryan, with that, let's jump right in. What is the big deal with Social Security? You know,
we used to talk about this when we were growing up. We're like, what is this Social Security thing? And you know, what we found is we started recognizing more and more families that were getting ready to retirement. They started looking at how are they going to claim their benefits. And you know, when we really dug into this and started doing our research, we've been now talking about this on our radio show in our public workshops for 6 years now.
That's right.
And we quickly learned that it's a very big deal. And this is one of the most critical areas of your financial decisions for most families, because tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, are at stake. And we're going to show you that here in the next few minutes.
Awesome. So here's the reality. When we talked about Social Security, you may not realize this, but if you made an average income throughout your career, your Social Security benefits could add up to several hundred thousands of dollars in lifetime benefits. And let's separate this, Ryan. So first off, let's talk about when a husband and a wife is working, they have a career where they've got an average income. Then bottom line is when they get to retirement, they could have up to $250,000 that they've put away of their own hard-earned money into the Social Security system.
You know, I always think about Rex. And by the way, as we use names in here for privacy, obviously we're changing the names. But Rex for 47 years had been working in concrete. And every time he got a paycheck, he was there at 4:30 in the morning. He worked really hard. He came in and saw us when he was 61 years old, wanting to know how to take his Social Security. And what he said is, 12.4%. Every time I opened up a paycheck, I saw this huge amount coming out of my check. And this is, he's one of those hardworking families that had to work really hard to make that dollar stretch and, raise 4 kids. But you add that up between you and your employer, 12.4%, 6.2 from you, 6.2 from your employer. And that adds up to hundreds of thousands of dollars for families. And then the second piece is when you take it out, Tyson, what does that add up to?
So when you take it out, for most of these same couples, somewhere between $750,000 to $1.5 million over their lifetimes in retirement.
That's not lunch money.
That is not lunch money. That is not chump change, as we say. The reality is there is a lot at stake, and that's why we are passionate about talking about this topic, because we want to ensure that you get the information you need.
And here's the challenge is this is a quote from Forbes, there's 2,728 rules in the Social Security Handbook, and there's literally hundreds of thousands of rules about those rules in their program operating manual. So, Tyson, all these rules are written in geek, not Greek, in geek. And, you don't want to be flying blind, is what this article says, when it comes to taking Social Security. And, Tyson, why is it so complicated and confusing?
Well, when you start taking a look at those 2,728 rules, and then you start talking about how this applies to your retirement life, here are the 3 problems. Let's frame them as it sits right now, because there are, first, you could trigger an avalanche of taxes if you do this wrong. In other words, we can't be looking at Social Security in a silo just on its own. We need to look at it within the entire framework of a plan so that you don't trigger an avalanche of taxes. Second, we don't want you to double your Medicare premiums. If you take Social Security at the wrong time, if you do it in the wrong way, you could literally double or more your Medicare premiums, and you don't want that to happen when you start going on into a plan where you don't have normal paychecks coming in as it relates to where you were in getting a paycheck every 2 weeks at your employment.
And these mistakes here are the 3 big ones that we see. And it's important to realize that there's more to claiming your Social Security benefits than just the size of your benefit check. I think you see that in black and white on the statement that they send you. But this decision can also trigger these other areas. And Tyson, there's a lot of people that are talking about this right now. Here's another article from Forbes that's talking about how confusing it is. And these articles, a lot of good people that work at the Social Security Administration, but Forbes says the top brass at Social Security Administration is asleep at the wheel. The benefit application form are seemingly designed to trip you up, and the Social Security Administration is chock full of misinformation. And this number right here, 40% of the time, the people at Social Security Administration are giving the wrong advice. It's either 100% wrong or partially wrong.
Now, let's be clear here. We're not trying to say that the people who work at the Social Security Administration are purposely trying to mislead somebody.
Absolutely not.
They are good people working hard every day to give as much information as they can. One thing that they are hampered by, though, is that they are strictly forbidden from allowing you to, if you've got, hey, what's the maximum you can do here for me and my wife? They can't give you all of those details because they are concerned that they're going to give you the wrong information.
And the other thing is they don't have the full picture.
That's
they
right.
don't know what your tax situation is. They don't know what other assets that you have. And so, bottom line is if you make a mistake, this can add up to tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is your money that you've worked really hard to put together.
Well, I want to share one example of somebody who worked for the Social Security Administration. We've shared this on a radio show before, but I think it's pertinent here. Not too long ago, we took our wives on a vacation, and we went on one of those shore excursions that I'm sure most of you are familiar with. And we sat down in this Jeep across from this cute young couple. And
Newlyweds.
We said, what are you doing here? And they said, well, we just got married. Exactly, newlyweds. And so we started chatting about how their wedding went, and we obviously went to, well, where do you work? And he said, I work at the Social Security Administration. And
automatically, we started getting really interested. We're on vacation, but we're still talking about Social Security.
Because we told him, we said, hey, we own a retirement planning firm. We talk about this all the time. Just out of curiosity, what do you give as advice to people when they come in? What did they say, Ryan?
He said that he tells everyone to take it at 62 because that's the longest check that they're ever going to receive. Because it'll be smaller, but it's the longest possible check. And we're like, wait a second, you tell some people that, right? And you're like, no, I tell everyone that.
And so we said, well, what about this situation? Or what about this situation? We went through all these different scenarios, and he said, oh, I really think I probably ought to find out more about what I'm telling people.
And bottom line, we walked away saying, I really hope our families aren't the ones who went and talked to him at the Social Security Administration, because there is no one-size-fits-all solution. And Tyson, I think that being able to, let's use some numbers here. Let's talk about some of the families that we help. We've got 3 case studies that we want to lay out here, and to show what difference this can make. And so, Tyson, we had a recent family come in. Let's talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, so this family came in. He had worked construction for the majority of his life. When he came in to see us, he was 65 years old, ready to retire. And he said, Tyson, we want to make sure that we're making the most of Social Security. And so as we talked through his scenario, we always say, well, what were you planning on doing with Social Security? And he said, a bunch of my friends were telling me that we probably ought to just take it right now as I retire.
Wait, interesting there. A bunch of your friends, right?
He was talking to people at work.
Probably not a good place to get Social Security advice, right?
That's taking it at face value.
But a lot of people do that.
They do. And so I said, well, we'll take a look at this, and when we get back together for our second appointment, we'll tell you if that makes sense. Now, in his case, he was 65. His wife was 5 years younger, so she wasn't eligible yet for Social Security, because the first time that she could be eligible is 62 years old.
Yeah.
And so in his mind, he said, hey, look, I want to take it right now. When we got back together and we did the analysis, by the way, we do somewhere between 8 and 15 hours worth of analysis for the entire B.O.S.S retirement blueprint, everything we're going to show you that you're going to get at the end of this webinar. And so we always talk Social Security first, though. And I said, what your plan was good, but we've got something great.
Yeah.
And so in this case, what we ended up saying was, what you ought to be doing is your wife ought to be taking her spousal or her normal benefit at 62 years old. And you're going to wait a little bit. And so there was some combinations there that we won't get into all the details on, but it was very specific to them. And here's the bottom line, that when you look at the numbers for them, these are their actual numbers. Obviously, we're not sharing their name, but they had an additional $77,882 that they could get just from Social Security. Now, this is a chart that when somebody comes in and looks at their Social Security, we show them and say, based off of all the math, based off of break-even points, based off of how long you're going to live, we're going to do all these comparisons, and then we're going to show you the two that make the most sense, and then we're going to show you real math as to what makes the most sense and give you a recommendation. In their case, Ryan, it was an extra $77,882 in their pocket just with Social Security.
And I'm sure they could probably figure out what to do with that extra money, right? Didn't need a lot of help there.
Think about that, though. What else you could do with an extra $77,000, almost $78,000 in their case? Now, keep in mind that this is just their Social Security, as we've mentioned. That doesn't include taxes. That doesn't include other situations that we're doing with the rest of the B.O.S.S retirement blueprint.
Love it.
To make sure that they're saving as much money and getting them all the way through retirement with as much simplicity as possible.
So let's look at example number 2. This is a family that came in, sat down and visited with us, and they had already taken their Social Security. They'd filed.
Right.
Based off of what they thought was going to be the information. The husband was a supervisor at his job. The wife worked for the state of Utah, worked for her employer. She kind of worked part-time during her career. And so what their plan was is they were going to start taking their Social Security, which they had done at the full retirement age for the husband. And then he heard and saw our TV show and said,
Right.
I probably ought to get a second opinion, because he had just recently filed, and he said, I don't want to be one of those ones who makes a mistake that's going to cost me tens of thousands of dollars. So he came in and visited with us at our office. And Tyson, what did we find out as we met with him?
So the first thing that he said was, when I take this at retirement, I'm going to be getting $2,610. Well, let's be very specific here. And she was going to get $1,098 from her benefit. So they were both going to take them at the same time. They were both the same age.
Their own benefit.
Both at 66.
Yeah.
And so when they came back in, we said, you know what? Instead of you both taking it at 66, there's some other combinations you can do here. And again, there's thousands of these combinations. That's why you need to focus on this in your customized approach. But what we ended up doing is we said, okay, spouse, you're going to continue to take yours at the 1,098, but the husband's going to take only half of that, half of hers.
Yeah.
It's what's called a restricted application, and we're going to let the husbands continue to grow.
Which is going to grow by 8% per year for
which
every
is
year
going
that
to
he lets that
continue to grow at 8% per year. And so here's the bottom line with them. We did the comparison, we did the analysis, and for them there was an extra $130,272,000 just from Social Security by us helping them to wring every nickel out of Social Security.
Well, and as you look at the screen here, you'll notice that on the left-hand side, you'll see the year. This is 2036, and you'll notice a couple different things about that. Look at what happens at age 85 in year 2039. We plan and prepare. This is when the husband, we don't know when he's going to die, but we pick a date, right, to run some scenarios. We can run any scenario we want. But we said if the husband passed away at 85, what's going to happen is you'll notice that instead of receiving 2 Social Security checks, they receive 1. It's the bigger of the 2 checks. But what we're looking for here is we not only want to make sure that as part of we're planning that they maximize and optimize all the Social Security pieces, but also we plan for one spouse when they pass away. That's a question we get a lot. Hey, I want to make sure that I'm taken care of or my wife is taken care of if I pass away, or vice versa. And by looking at this, again, we're only looking at one piece on Social Security. So the first one we showed, they were optimizing by 77,000. This one's by 130,000, and this really adds up. But this is just one piece. And Tyson, let's talk a little bit about another piece. We talked about the avalanche of taxes.
Well, and before we even jump into taxes, I want to make one other point here, that whether you're single, we've talked about 2 married couples. Whether you're single, whether you've been divorced, there are still a lot of different scenarios that we run into, and we want to make sure that it's the best for you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So let's jump into taxes now. And we look at this number, $269,260 in tax savings. Ryan, let's talk a little bit about that. That's even a bigger number than anything we've seen so far.
This is, now we're going to transition a little bit. We're going to show you 3 areas. We could show you 4, but we're going to show you 3. This is what's called the forward-looking tax analysis. It's really easy to get money in a 401k or IRA. Take it out of your paycheck every 2 weeks. Not as easy to get it back, and here's why. Because how and when you withdraw your money from your IRA or 401k can make a big impact on the taxes you're going to pay in Social Security, the taxes you're going to pay on other income streams. And what we're showing here on the screen now is this is a family that has a $286,616 401k. You'll see that up at the top. It says current pre-tax qualified account. And then what we're looking at is we're now running what we call a forward-looking tax analysis. In other words, we want to look into the future and say, what is the impact of taxes? Tyson, walk us through this and why this is important.
The first thing that you notice is that it says at the top, current pre-tax qualified account of $286,616. Now, it doesn't matter whether this is $286,000, whether it's $500,000, $1 million, $2 million, it doesn't matter the number. We're just giving an example so that you can get a feel for how much different your retirement life could be, because here's the deal. You have more control over taxes during your retirement years than at any other time in your life. And we call them the golden years, Ryan, for a reason. It's because we want you to keep the gold instead of passing that on to the IRS.
That sounds a lot better to me.
Right? Now, keep in mind that we're not tax advisors. We work with your CPAs and we help to make sure that you get the most out of this, but we give everybody this forward-looking tax analysis. So moving on, you see there that if it was paid from the required minimum distribution age at age 70 and a half to age 90, in this case, because that's the longevity piece for them and this particular couple. And then we go to this left-hand side, Ryan, where we talk about taxes. Let's walk through each of these sections and explain how this works. So 20 years worth of paying taxes from your required minimum distributions, right?
Yep. Then the second piece is if you don't need all of that money, in other words, you're not going to spend it and you reinvest it, you're going to pay taxes on the reinvested required minimum distributions.
Right.
That would be $67,289. Then we're going to look at the taxes when you die. Now, some people think, well, I'm not going to die because I have a trust or I have an estate. No, it depends on what the type of account is and what the taxable requirements on that account are. In this case, coming out of a 401k would be $109,953 for a grand total of tax of $346,646. Now, right underneath the taxes paid on remaining account value at death, you'll notice there's a blank line.
That's a box for Social Security taxes. We haven't even added this into the equation, Ryan.
And this is the 85% that we talk about all of the time. If you are above a certain threshold of income, it's called provisional income is the technical term. What that basically means is if you're a married couple, you make over $44,000 a year. For every dollar after that, you're going to have 85% of your Social Security benefit run back through as adjusted gross income. And you're going to pay taxes on that. We don't show this in this line, but this is the avalanche of taxes that we're talking about. Now, in this example, Tyson, what could somebody do as an alternative if they were to want to make some improvements?
So you can see there it says convert to Roth. So that would be over time $77,386 that you'd spend still in taxes, or a Roth or a Roth-like account. There's several ways that you could do this. We help you when you come in with your own customized situation to make sure that you're getting the best of the best. So here's the bottom line. You could either have the left-hand side, continue to pay required minimum distributions once you pull that money out, continue to pay that on the growth of the money in the brokerage account and still pass taxes on after you pass, or you can do something smart and convert it to a Roth or a Roth-like account. The difference that stays in your pocket is what we started with as the example, $269,260 in your pocket instead of somebody else's.
So imagine this. Imagine if you were able to receive $100,000 more from Social Security by the way you take Social Security over lifetime. You're able to minimize your taxes by $269,000. That's $369,000 of additional dollars that you would have in your pocket to do everything and anything you wanted to do in retirement, pay for health care, visit the kids and grandkids, do those things that you've always wanted to do in retirement. And these are just three examples. Obviously, there is no one-size-fits-all solution, right, Tyson?
That's right. And first off, everyone's unique, right?
Sure.
And even a minor difference, whether it's age or assets or income or retirement date or whatever, it could have a major impact on the strategies that will be used from B.O.S. Retirement Solutions for you. So it's critical that you have this customized analysis specifically designed for you. Let's walk through, Ryan, how this works and what you get.
So in this Social Security analysis, this is the offer that we're going to have for you to help you out, clarify the confusion, help you so you don't make mistakes. You're going to learn the exact timing of your benefits, and this is your best defense. Okay, when it comes to Social Security, is we're going to take into consideration your benefits, your taxes, your Medicare premiums, your spousal benefits, and possibly any other benefits that you're eligible to receive. And some of these, you don't even know that they exist. And in this analysis, we're going to help you with the timing. We're going to help you understand how you could minimize and avoid paying as much as 85% on your benefits in tax, the little-known tricks to boosting your spousal benefits, plus how you could avoid sending your Medicare premiums through the roof. But Tyson, that's not it. This analysis, this is what it looks like. This is the cover page. But what else are we going to do in addition to that to help you receive a full picture?
So not only are we going to show you how to get the most out of your Social Security analysis and your strategy, but there's something else that becomes really key in this, and it's called the B.O.S. Retirement Blueprint. Here is what the B.O.S. Retirement Blueprint looks like. It's been customized for you when you come in again, so that we have the opportunity to show you exactly how much money you could put in your own pocket. Now you see that this blueprint is one page. It's because we believe in simplicity. Leonardo da Vinci said, simplicity is the ultimate in sophistication, and we don't use a lot of fancy jargon. We want it to be so that when we explain the B.O.S. Retirement Blueprint for you, it's probably the first time you've ever had a plan, because there's less than a quarter of anybody listening to the webinar today that's ever had a plan put in place for them. But our goal is for you to be able to, if you're sitting there with your spouse, we explain this to you, and then you can turn to your spouse and explain it back. It's that simple. We want this to be as simple as possible so that you've got a plan to get to and through retirement with ease.
And then the next thing that we want to help you with is understand what risk you're taking. Here at the end of 2018, we had big changes in the market. It was one of those times that everyone was like, is this the beginning of the end, or is this just a little road bump on the way to the market going back up again? What we would invite you to do is when you come in and sit down and meet with us for this analysis is we're going to test the risk. In this risk, we're going to look at, hey, if the market continues to go up, here's what the gains in your portfolio would look like. We're going to look at your brokerage accounts, your 401ks, your IRAs, and the actual investments that you have inside those accounts. And we're going to say, what's the potential upside? We're also going to look at what is the downside. In this example here, are you okay if this was $1 million portfolio and it goes down 32%, are you okay losing $344,000
Ouch.
right before you walk out the door for retirement? That's probably not the best time for that to happen. And Tyson, if we bring this all in together, these four pieces, what does this do for our families when they come in and sit down with us?
These four things really give a lot of peace of mind. And that's what this is all about, is to help people for the first time to understand when we get to what we call the retirement red zone, 5 years before retirement or 5 years after retirement, that you've got to have this plan in place so that you understand all of the pieces of it. So you get the Social Security analysis there right in the middle of the page. You get the forward-looking tax analysis on the right. You get the risk and fee analysis. You get the B.O.S.S retirement blueprint. All of this, when you come in from somebody who's going to take the time to listen and understand what you need to have into your retirement years. So again, as we close on the webinar today, we're going to not only give you that free customized Social Security analysis that we talked about and that shows up here on the top of the screen, we're going to give you the other three things, the risk and fee analysis, the B.O.S.S retirement blueprint, and the forward-looking tax analysis for the first 20 people who respond on this webinar today. You can either email us there at bossretirement.com or click on that form and put in your information. It's as simple as that.
And Tyson, sometimes people ask us, why do you have a minimum? And it's like you said earlier, we spend hours and hours putting these reports together, and we'd love to help everyone, but we also need to have an ability to help people where there's places that we can make a difference.
Right.
And, as we mentioned earlier, we have 6 offices right here on the Wasatch Front, all the way from Ogden in the north to Provo. There's going to be an office that's 15, 20 minutes from your house. So really easy, really convenient. We're going to sit down with a member of our team, have a great conversation, find out what your goals are, find out what your concerns are. And really it goes back to the very simple mission of B.O.S.S Retirement Solutions, which is good people receiving good information. You can make great decisions, and your retirement is far too important to just leave to chance.
Well, think about, Ryan, what we talked about before, which is this. Just with Social Security, you've probably put away $250,000 or more through that. Then you look at your 401k and how much money you've set aside there. You've worked too hard. You've earned way too much to let it all have a 20, 30, 40% drop in the market and have you feel like that you can't retire. That's what we want to do, is give you peace of mind here at B.O.S.S Retirement Solutions. So again, for the first 20 people who respond on this webinar today, either email us or fill out the form, and would be happy to get in touch with you and set up a time that works for you to come in to see us, to give you the Social Security analysis, the B.O.S.S retirement blueprint, the forward-looking tax analysis, as well as the risk and fee analysis, that we have the opportunity to really help you to see for the first time with confidence and clarity how you can retire.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We do have additional resources on our website at bossretirement.com. Also, we'd invite you to listen to our radio show. It's weekly, Saturdays at 3 p.m. on KSL. It is on KNRS 105.9.
At 10 a.m.
At 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. And then we have the TV show on ABC4 Utah every Tuesday night and Thursday night. You can see us as part of the 6:30 news. Thanks so much for joining us. Remember, retiring successfully doesn't happen by accident. It starts with a plan. That plan is the B.O.S.S Retirement Blueprint. Look forward to seeing you in one of our offices soon.